What's up guys, and welcome back to another video on the MF Automotive YouTube channel. And the Mercedes G-Class is perhaps one of the most misunderstood vehicles on the market today. On one end of the spectrum, it's a robust, rugged, and a superior off-roader that's designed to be driven off the beaten track, while on the other end, it's a powerful, luxurious, and somewhat practical everyday vehicle. And I use the term practical quite loosely because even though the G wears the coveted three-pointed star up front, it's actually not very refined. The steering wheel is incredibly heavy at low speeds, the seating position is awkwardly high, the dashboard is unusually narrow, and you sort of have to jump into it rather than the usual, act of climbing in. Oh, and just in case you didn't already notice, it's shaped like a box on wheels. And yet, after all these drawbacks, or what some would consider to be drawbacks, I still absolutely adore it. And here's why. A big thank you to my friends over at Select Auto Center located in Toronto, Ontario for giving me the opportunity to review this awesome vehicle. If you guys are in the market for any new or used vehicle, whether that be luxury or mainstream, make sure to check them out. Like most iconic off-road nameplates, the story of the G-Wagon begins in the hands of the military. The intent of the G from the very beginning was to act as a military vehicle, and it wasn't until 1979 that Mercedes made it available for sale to the public. And it wasn't until after that, in 93, that a performance-oriented AMG model was introduced to the world. And fast forward 4 decades from then, the G-Wagon has retained the same silhouette as a military-derived W460 model, albeit with a little more functionality. The G-Wagon for 2018 was available with 3 different powertrains. The G550 and 4x4 squared had the 4-liter bi-turbo V8, 416 horsepower, and 450 pound-feet of torque. And then we had the G63 shown here, which had the handcrafted 5.5-liter AMG bi-turbo V8, which was good for 563 horsepower and 561 pound-feet of torque. We also had the stamp of approval with the Affalterbach crest engraved on the engine and the name of the awesome individual responsible for handcrafting this engine. Then, of course, we had the obnoxious but kind of awesome 6-liter handcrafted AMG with the bi-turbo V12. And contrary to popular belief, this engine wasn't actually that much quicker than the G63. But what made it awesome was, well, the V12. V12s are always awesome. All engines to the G were mated to a speed shift 7-speed automatic transmission. The exterior of the G-Wagon is like any other vehicle on the road. Some may simply refer to it as a box on wheels, while others compared to the likes of a road-legal tank. Of course, Mercedes wanted to retain the iconic silhouette of the G, and to do so, they had to improvise in some areas. The windshield, for instance, sits almost vertically, which makes it a little unsettling at first when viewing from inside. The sheet metal lacks any sort of curves or clever design elements, and it's virtually assembled entirely by hand, not in Germany, but in Austria of all places. The windows are large squares, and the doors sound incredibly solid. And in the front sits this good old dashboard, which is optional, but I would highly recommend opting for it because it just looks so cool. But I wouldn't want it any other way. To some, it may seem, well, just like a glorified Jeep, but it's honestly so much more than that. And this isn't a knock towards the Jeep as they compete in 2 completely different segments and price points. It's hard to explain, but it's just plain awesome. Sure, a Cayenne Turbo may be better around corners, and an X5M will be loads better to drive on an everyday basis, but the G takes them both in the looks department. It instantly sticks out wherever it goes, and it's quite intimidating to look at head on. Under the hood sits the ludicrous 5.5-liter twin-turbo V8, which also sounds incredibly awesome. And with the exhaust mounted on the side rather than the back, your ears are constantly enveloped in the awesome sound of the V8. The interior of the G is exactly what you would picture it to be: functional. No, it won't feature the latest in cutting-edge technology, nor cocoon you in the finest leather known to man, but it's all you need with a little more on the side. The headliner is covered in precious Alcantara, the gauges are easy to read, the center stack is covered in a maze of buttons, and the climate switches are unusually low and kind of hard to reach. The gear selector is a stubby little thing covered in leather with the Affalterbach crest embossed in the top, and best of all, we have a manual handbrake. Storage space is minimal at best, and so is the number of USB ports. I only counted 2, and even they are hidden between the center armrest. Cup holders are kind of non-existent, and we have these tack-on ones that kind of seem like an afterthought. Backseat passengers are a bit more segregated, as all they get are climate vents and the opportunity to fight over the singular 12-volt outlet. The rear door doesn't open up, but rather swings out, and get ready to put some effort into opening or closing it, because the massive AMG wheel bolted to it doesn't make it any lighter. So in the end, the G-Wagon is a vehicle that stirs up a difference of opinion. Some people adore the retro styling, robust build quality, and driving dynamics equivalent to a tank, while others refuse to even look at one. Perhaps the notion of owning one is somehow associated with wealthy soccer moms and an antisocial attitude, but one thing's for sure, the Mercedes G-Class will always hold a special place in my heart. With that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.